Well, welcome everybody. It is my great pleasure to welcome you here for our Women's History Month conversation, Women on Board, A Path to Leadership, with our very special guest, Secretary of the Commonwealth, Candi Mundon King. We are so honored to have her here with us today, sharing her journey of leadership, her thoughts about Women's History Month, about where we're coming from, where we are today, and where we are going in the future. I'm Judy Selzer. I'm on the board of the Virginia Women's Foundation, and it is such a treat to be here with all of you today, like I said, celebrating Women's History Month. The Virginia Women's Foundation is a newer organization. We have only been around for 2 years, but we are thrilled to be here, really engaging and empowering women and girls to be leaders in your own life and in the world around you. We have a number of programs from our Girls Leadership Circle for middle school girls, empowering them to be leaders. We do work in Richmond around public policy work during session. We have our Women on the Run nonpartisan campaign training program going on right now across the state, training women to run for office. And this program, our Women on Board program, we are so thrilled that you are here today with us. This is about empowering women to serve on boards, whether that is corporate boards, whether that is nonprofit boards, or today's conversation, government boards. There are countless boards and commissions at the state, at the county, and at the city level, all across the Commonwealth in every corner that you can serve on. And you do not have to run for public office to be appointed to these boards. It is a tremendous way to serve your community and to be a leader. And so we're going to learn a little bit about that today. So it gives me such great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker today for our Women on Board conversation. Secretary of the Commonwealth, Candi Mundon King, is a community servant like no other. As an elected official with over 2 decades of experience designing and implementing high impact advocacy programs, she has done work in education and public safety, economic development, and of course, social justice. Mundon King's work is driven by her commitment to closing equity gaps and promoting community well-being for all Virginians across the Commonwealth. Since 2021, she represented Virginia's 23rd district in the House of Delegates, where she was advocating for Prince William's and Stafford County community members and, of course, the full Commonwealth in her work. She has been so successful in working to secure pay raises for teachers, protecting victims of human trafficking, working to ensure paid sick leave is there for home health care workers, safeguarding renters from unauthorized home access, and most notably, she has passed the historic Virginia Momnibus, which transformed maternal health care across Virginia. She also founded the Sickle Cell Caucus and the Black Maternal Health Caucus. In April, I believe, we celebrate Maternal Health Week, and there's this huge work that is going to be going on and celebrating this week in the Commonwealth. And so there's just so much the Secretary has done, and we are really thrilled to learn from her today. So with that, I'm going to welcome Secretary Candi Mundon King. Thank you again for being here, for helping us celebrate Women's History Month, and making sure that every day, each one of us in our little circle of the world figures out to keep figuring out how to keep being trailblazers, break down glass ceilings, overcome obstacles, and continuing to make history every day and hurry it along. So with that, I turn things over to you, Secretary. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Judy. It is so wonderful to be here with you all today and to see so many friends and familiar faces. I see Dr. Hudson from Norfolk State University, my beloved alma mater, as well as Sarah and Gloria and other women who have just done such amazing things. Thank you all so much for having me here today. And I think I saw even one of my neighbors, Ebony Lofton, in the room. Thank you all so much for being here today and for the opportunity to share with you during Women's History Month. As we know, Women's History Month is not just a time to recognize achievements or the resilience and contributions of women, but it's also a time to reflect on the leaders who are transforming the Commonwealth. And I'm so honored to have the privilege of watching an extraordinary woman in leadership every day, and that is Her Excellency Governor Abigail Spanberger. Working with Governor Spanberger has really been the culmination, and I apologize, my phone is just ringing, ringing, ringing. But working with Governor Spanberger and seeing her in action has really just been such a blessing because she has shown in a little over 60 days the difference that it makes when women are empowered and in leadership. And she's built a cohort of women around her who are leading in their different areas and showing that when women are elected or appointed, when we show up, we show out and we do things differently. And we see that across our commerce and trade area, where Secretary Carrie Sheenery has already started hitting the ground running with a number of investments in the Commonwealth that we're so very proud of. Our Secretary of Labor, Jessica Lumen, is doing transformative work to ensure that Virginians can afford to live and raise a family here in the Commonwealth. And we have our Secretary of Administration, Tracy DeShazer, who's doing phenomenal work upgrading our public service, and all of our stakeholders throughout the Commonwealth are benefiting from their work, as well as the first woman chief. Bonnie Crinn Sherman, the governor's chief of staff, is the first woman chief of staff to the governor in the Commonwealth's history. Imagine us still having that superlative in 2026. And she's doing outstanding work, as well as our Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, Dr. Sisha Moon. So we have a cabinet full of women who are doing phenomenal things in service to the Commonwealth. But before I share a little about our board's process, I want to talk a little about my role as Secretary of the Commonwealth. The Secretary of the Commonwealth has existed in some form since 1607, and we help the governor with just about anything. In its current form, I oversee the appointments to boards and commissions. I recommend clemency petitions for the governor, as well as manage her constituent services. I am also the Commonwealth of Virginia's official representative to our 11 tribes, state recognized tribes, some of whom are run by outstanding women who are the first female chiefs in their tribes, and continuing that leadership of Indigenous women. And I'm also the keeper of the seal. So, don't print the seal of Virginia on anything without our permission, or we may have to send you a nice letter, and no one wants that. But every governor has the opportunity to appoint highly qualified, capable individuals to serve on boards and commissions. This summer alone, we are expecting up to 600 vacancies across the 4,000 seats on boards and commissions throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. There are three types of boards. There are advisory, policy, and supervisory. And so everything from the peanut board to the state board of health, we have a board for almost anything that you can think of, including the milk board, which is more competitive than people seem to think. People do want to serve on the milk board. In order to apply, you can submit an application through our website, where we ask you to upload your resume, any professional references, and you can apply up to 4 boards at a time. Our administration, we are approaching things maybe a little differently than in the past, where we're looking for subject matter experts who may not be connected to any specific organization or group, but people who have deep passion and roots in that particular area of interest. We are reading all the resumes and looking at all the applications. And some of the feedback we've gotten is that we're really creating opportunities for people who have often felt left out of this part of government. And so we're very proud of that. It is an honor and a privilege to serve on a board and help the governor fulfill her mission during her term. Most board appointments are for a term of 4 years. And thank you, Judy, for putting that link. And so we are also very proud of the high number of women we have appointed to boards and commissions. And so we encourage women from across the Commonwealth, if you don't know what you're interested in, submit an application anyway. When you go to our website, you can filter through different boards and commissions. But if you're passionate about something, submit an application. And if we have an opening that might fit your skills, then we'll reach out to you. And why are these boards important? Many of them make recommendations to the governor or the General Assembly. They provide policy insight, and we know that our insight and our outcomes are so much better when we have diverse groups in the room. And women are a part of that much needed diversity. Now, I think Judy talked a little about my time in the legislature, but never in my wildest dreams did I think I would have the opportunity to serve as the Secretary of the Commonwealth. I am still at my core that little girl who was born in Portsmouth, Virginia, to raised by grandparents who had fourth grade educations. My grandmother went to part of the third grade, and then she was forced to work in the fields as a sharecropper. And that is something that I carry with me in every room because my grandmother was a brilliant woman. She was a hardworking woman. And there are so many brilliant, hardworking women throughout the Commonwealth who've never been given the opportunity to serve at this level of government. And that's why this role is so important to me. Behind every woman is a story that's fueled by passion, determination, and drive. But we oftentimes underestimate even ourselves, our presence, our skills, and even our stories matter. One of the things I learned in the legislature is that you don't always have the votes, but no one can take your voice, and voices matter. Over my time in the legislature, standing up and using my voice to advocate for mothers led to the passage of the Momnibus Act. The work that we're doing in this administration to help people with sickle cell anemia, which is something my family has personally battled with, it matters. It is giving voice to those who have often felt left out of the system. And so, my question and charge to you today is, will you stand up for the things that matter in your community? Often, when I came to the legislature, I learned really quickly that there were people who had been working on particular subjects for years. You know, I wasn't the first person to think that we should raise the minimum wage. Delegate Jawan Ward worked on that issue for years. And sometimes newer delegates will come in and think, oh, we're the first one to have this idea. No, someone has thought about this, someone has been working on this. But there are so many issues in our communities that don't have champions. I've never been personally impacted by human trafficking, but I represented the Route 1 corridor. And I would look up and down Route 1 and see these stories of young men and women being trafficked and abused and think, my God, they need a voice enrichment. What happens when you finally make it out and you want to start your life over? How can I advocate for them? And I worked on laws that change the way we approach clearing the records of those who have been victims of human trafficking. So, what are the issues in your communities, issues that don't have a champion, where you can step in, where you can use your voice? Think on those things. And that is how we will ensure that women and girls have the opportunities to not just survive in our Commonwealth, but to thrive as well. So thank you all so much. And I think with that, Judy, are we taking questions? I think
Absolutely. I am just so excited by all that you shared with us. And I'm dropping in the chat. I couldn't type fast enough, so I might not have quoted you perfectly, but wow, you shared you don't always have the votes when you were in the legislative body, but no one can take away your voice, and your voice matters. I hope if folks leave today with nothing else that they remember this message from our Secretary of the Commonwealth that we have a voice. We might not always have the votes in whatever room we're in to get things done, but we can still speak up about
and
what matters to us.
you can still speak up. And I want to give why that is so
Yeah.
important to me. I sat in the room in the General Assembly, the very room where the Commonwealth of Virginia decided to close down the school system rather than integrate during Brown versus the Board of Education.
Wow.
I sat in the same building where during the 1902 conversations about the Constitution of Virginia, men debated the humanity of Black voters. And they said on the record, we can't just give them a poll tax. We have to make it harder for them to vote because a poll tax is not enough. They will work together to raise money so at least some of them can vote. And they put that on the record over a century ago. And the granddaughter of those who were denied the right to vote had the opportunity to read their words and continue to be inspired to fight back against people who still believe that way today. So your words matter. They have a legacy. Speaking up matters. Someone will read your words, hear your words centuries from now, and remember that at least someone spoke up. And as a Black woman in the Commonwealth of Virginia, to speak out has often been dangerous. It has carried a weight that many people still don't understand how heavy that burden has been. But now, in 2026, we have the opportunity to speak freely on the issues that are being ignored, that impact our community, and remember that people will one day be inspired, either positively or negatively, by the words that you choose to speak.
Thank you for that. I was literally getting, chills, like the hair on your arm stands up sometimes when you're speaking about the legacy of discrimination and violence against particularly Black and brown bodies and community members that still now, even in 2026, for all of the movement forward, there is still such discrimination and racism and xenophobia and just violence within our communities and institutions. And so it should not be held lightly, the space that we're in today, with you serving as our secretary. And we appreciate your leadership and your voice so much, because we know that there are huge battles and obstacles you've had to overcome to get where you are. This has not been an easy path, and we are forever indebted to you and all who have come before you. So let's open it up to some questions. Who wants to come off of mute and ask the secretary a question? This is a fantastic, huge, rare opportunity to speak directly to a member of our cabinet. Joni, I see Joni's hand up, so come off of mute, Joni.
Hi, how are you today? I'm one of the organizers of a group that we don't actually have. We haven't landed on a name, but we are the Interfaith Virginians for Reproductive Health Equity. And how do we engage faith members who are specifically people of color, Black and brown, statistically most affected by poor birth outcomes, into our coalition?
Thank you for that question. I think I can speak for my experience from my experience in the legislature, and talk about it from a perspective of lived experiences, making sure those who are closest to the problems are closest to the solutions. One of the things that we did when we were developing the Momnibus, which is a Black maternal health slate of bills, is we looked into rural communities at some of the health outcomes that were happening in rural communities and figured out how we could replicate some of the solutions and bring in, whether it was pastors or church members or parishioners, but bring them into the decision making table. I think also being very intentional with diaspora communities, right? When we talk about communities of color, are we intentionally going to immigrant communities of color? Are we addressing the issues that face immigrant women and bringing them into the conversation as well? But there's also the opportunity on our boards and commissions to honestly meet new people. It feels like as the more we become digitally connected, the easier it is to actually the harder it is, I'm sorry, to actually connect with people. And through our boards and commissions, you can meet people in new regions with different perspectives. I think a lot of, especially in the Black church faith and community, a lot of the health committees from different churches and congregations will really be interested in the reproductive health work that you're doing.
Thank you, Secretary. I see in the chat somebody had asked, they had submitted a board application, I'm imagining on the state website, but they don't think they got a confirmation. Do you have any advice about how we confirm if we apply and we don't see something, how we confirm that? Because, of course, given that I think you said some staggering number, like 400 openings potentially over the next year, or it might have been higher. You obviously can't call everybody to say thanks, but no thanks. How do we know if our submission even got someplace?
So we have a very sophisticated system that is almost 99% accurate when you submit. But we also have we have a email address, and our boards and commissions team has an email address that I will put in the chat.
Thank you for that. Great. Let's see here. I see a question in the chat. They're interested in several boards related to domestic violence, higher education, African Americans, women, and wine. Oh, that is a fabulous combination of different wonderful interests. So, Secretary, do you have particular advice about, again, with the application process, should they submit multiple applications for each different thing, or is it kind of one application and you can hit multiple topics? Just any more specifics, not to get too far into the weeds, but more specifics that you can share about the best way for folks to say, I would like to serve?
Yes. So one is cover letters and interest and making the connections. So I do suggest submitting one application per year with up to 4 boards. But then if your interests change, the email address that I'll share, you can say, I'm also interested in X. But uploading a really great cover letter that shows why you're interested or why you might be a good connection for that particular role is always great.
Thank you for that. We have another great question in the chat. What examples can you share for reasons people are sometimes not accepted? Sometimes it could be, of course, it's filled already, but can you share broad examples of why somebody might not be accepted onto a board or commission and how they can improve their chances or connections or skill set?
I can tell you the biggest reason why, which I am working on for next year's legislative session, is that boards and commissions are created by acts of the legislature most often. And some of them have become so very specific that we have a very difficult time finding people that meet the requirements. So I'll use Virginia Military Institute as an example. Virginia Military Institute requires 4 of their board members to be non-Virginia residents who are VMI graduates. Some of our boards, so that was, as you can imagine, very difficult to identify people who are willing to, because a university board is a large commitment that can often require sometimes 3 to 4 days in a month or within a period to do the work required of that governing board. But the other reason is that if there is something criminal or disqualifying and, committing a crime, we believe in second chances, but committing certain crimes, because we do some background and vetting on board members. Also, for some of the boards, lottery or other things where there may be conflicts of interest, we recognize those as well.
Thank you. There's a great question here. Is there financial compensation for these positions?
So typically our boards are not paid, you're compensated for time and travel. So there are a couple of boards that are paid. First is the parole board, which is compensated because it is, while it is an appointment, it is basically a full-time job. And the parole board is compensated in that way, I think to the tune of about $70 per hour. And they work 40 hours per week. The others, the Cannabis Control Authority has a small stipend of, I think it's $17,000 a year. The Virginia Retirement System has a small stipend of about $5,000 per year.
That's great. I didn't even know that. I had assumed some of that it was all volunteer, but so great that we should not make assumptions. Who else has a question? Anybody else want to come off of mute and ask a question? I see Sarah, and then I think Antoinette. I saw your hand raised too. So we'll go Sarah and then Antoinette.
So, Madam Secretary, I love that we're trying to really fill our state level boards with so many more diverse people, and particularly women, where and when we can. But I know that there are a lot of folks, especially folks who are maybe on the other side of the Shenandoah, who can't necessarily make it to Richmond as often. Do you have suggestions or ideas about other ways folks can serve at the local or community or county level?
A lot of thank you for that. A lot of counties are getting a lot more technically savvy, where you can go online and see the seats on county boards and commissions, because just like we seek advice, they do as well. I always really encourage people to apply for any planning and zoning committee in your locality. That is, if you are concerned about either the future of your locality or the direction that it's going, the planning and zoning people are usually the first stop. But it's as easy as sending an email to your supervisor and saying, I'm interested in X. Do you have any boards and commissions at the county level that focus on those? Websites are not all created equal. So some counties have boards and commissions that people don't even know exist until you ask. But it is so important to serve at the local level as well. And Sarah, I'm so glad you talked about geographical diversity. That is something we are looking to be really intentional about. And over the next 4 years, a couple of things that I plan to work on is, one, our policy about virtual membership, and virtual participation, right? How do we encourage and allow people to participate in boards and commission meetings virtually? Which I think is really important when you talk about people who are, 3, 4, 5 hours away from Richmond.
Thank you for that. And I'm so glad to see hands raised. We're going to go to Antoinette, who I said would go next. And then I see in line Lakeisha and NB Roberts. So Antoinette, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Secretary Mundon King. I have a question concerning state employment and whether or not one is able to serve on a board. I know that there are some examples, but is that a general rule that if you are employed with the state? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure thing. That has not come up, and I believe we may have already appointed some state employees, but and from my understanding, state employment does not prohibit you from serving on a board or commission. I will say that if you work at the Department of Health, it might be seen as a conflict of interest to be on the Board of Health. But just as a general state employment, I have not seen that as a disqualifier.
Thank you.
Great questions. Okay, Lakeisha.
Oh, I'm already off mute. Good afternoon. I have a question, but it's kind of like three here. So for the boards, were you saying that, and the commissions, are you saying that they are not virtual?
No,
All of them?
Each board is done currently. Each board is managed differently. And some boards will adopt policies that require a certain percentage of in-person participation, especially if it's a governance board. most of those are required in some way to be in person.
Okay. And then are there any other boards outside of the parole board that are full-time?
The parole board, I believe, is the only full-time one. One that I missed is the chair of the compensation board, which pays about $30,000 a year. It is not full-time, but it is actually I call them sort of quasi-employment.
Okay. And then, so I'm in Loudoun and I do like all things aging and caregiving. And I actually am the chair of the Commission on Aging in Loudoun. Because I serve there, would I still be able to apply to serve statewide?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think Ms. Roberts was next in line.
Good afternoon. And I want to say first, congratulations to Secretary King. I'm so excited for you and also for our new governor. I am a former resident of Virginia, and you answered part of my question in that I understand that there are some folks that participate on the boards and commissions that are not currently Virginia residents. So I wanted to know do you know offhand which other boards and commissions that would not require residency in Virginia?
Yes. I don't have a number offhand, but I will say that many of our university boards and committee boards, many of our university boards will allow non-residents to participate. With the other boards and commissions, it can really vary depending on how it's written into the code, because some of them do require Virginia residency.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. And I believe Tracy Nicholson has the next question.
Oh, thank you. Very nice to meet you, Secretary King, and so
Nice
proud
to
of your
meet you.
achievements. My question is in regards to the boards and whether or not how long are most of the terms for the board's members? And I know that there probably is some type of a rotating schedule there. And then also, what's the time commitment how often the boards would actually be meeting? And I know there's some variety depending upon the board and the nature of the board, but if you could just speak generally to that, I would appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for that question. Most boards meet on a quarterly basis. I would say in terms of time intensive would start with our university boards, and then I would go to our sort of advisory boards that are making reports to the General Assembly. And then those are the ones that are a little more time consuming. And I want to go back to Sarah. Sarah talked about local boards and commissions, and I talked about the governor's appointments to boards and commissions. But there are also legislative committees that are created by the legislature, where the Speaker of the House and the chair of the Rules Committee will appoint people to boards and commissions. And so there's also the opportunity to reach out to your member of the House of Delegates and the Senate to share that you're interested in serving on what's called a legislative committee or commission.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, does anybody else have any final questions? Oh, great. Tiffany Fields has raised their hand, so we'll move over to Tiffany. But again, you are welcome to drop a question in the chat as well.
Sure. Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, Secretary Mundon King, and thank you for being here and sharing your expertise with us. I wanted to know, actually two questions mostly. When you're reviewing applications for the boards and commissions, what's something that would make you pause and take a second look at a candidate that might not have the most like traditional background? I'm still a student, so that's my question for you.
Yes, thank you for that. I think one of the things will go back to either the cover letter or their why for wanting to be on the board. So, we are not looking for, and this is a conversation that I've had with the governor, is that she is about a Virginia that is inclusive for all, and all means varying educational backgrounds, ethnic, racial diversity. It means all, and that means us looking at applicants a little differently. And so the cover letter is always great. And what I will say to people is that letters of recommendation are great, but not necessary, because we want to know about you, not just who you know. And so it's always helpful to just do a great cover letter or email about your why.
Okay, thank you. My next question is from your perspective, where are the greatest gaps on Virginia's boards and commissions right now in terms of representation and expertise?
Yes. So a couple of things. I think we don't have enough women on our economic related boards. So increasing the number of women on our economic boards. When we look across, we haven't done any type of assessment, but just looking across, our AAPI and Latino representation is very low. I will also say New American representation is pretty low as well. One of the things that I am really interested in is geographical diversity. A lot of the boards and commissions in the past have centered on people from either Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads, or the Richmond region. And so getting outside of those three areas is important as well.
Okay, thank you. And then one last question is, if someone wanted to be a strong candidate for a board appointment within the next 1 to 2 years, what intentional steps would you recommend that they start to take now?
I would recommend, one is getting as involved as possible in the issue area that they're interested in. So I'll just use this one as an example. So the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts is a very popular board. They do a lot of, community service and outreach activities where people can come in and help the museum. So I think to be a strong candidate, showing that commitment and connection to the museum before even being appointed is a good way to stand out.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Of course.
You all are asking such great questions. I see another hand raised from somebody who's calling in. So I don't know your name, but it's the person who raised their hand calling in. If you could come off of mute, tell us your name since we don't see it, and then you can ask Madam Secretary your question.
My name is Kavi Hoffman. I'm with Virginia Now, and I'm curious. I'm sorry, I'm not joined on a computer, but I am curious about the federal government reclassifying certain occupations like nursing and engineering to be non-licensed. Will we continue? Can you, if you know, the licensing and the commissions that we have that oversee those professional occupations if the federal government says they're not professionals anymore?
So, I can't speak too in depth to that because I don't work in that secretariat. But what I will say is that Virginia is still responsible and has authority over who is able to practice in the Commonwealth in the licensure process. And so that will continue. I don't foresee that changing. I think what you highlighted from the federal level has also sort of been related to college and degrees also. So it's definitely something that the team here is keeping track of, but Virginia still has authority over licensure and practicing in the Commonwealth.
Okay, that's good. And I would just like to thank you for your service. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's really my pleasure.
Thank you. And I see, Lakeisha, you have a question. And then Veronica, I see your hand up.
I do. So I know that you mentioned the legislative committee or commission. I don't really know anything about that. Could you elaborate a little bit more, please?
Yes. So the legislature each year, hold on one second. So each year, the legislature creates its own set of boards and commissions to study. And I'm going to see if they have a website that I can share. But those are committees that are specifically designed to make recommendations to the General Assembly each year.
Thank you for that.
Thank
Veronica,
you.
your question, Veronica.
Yes, good afternoon, and Secretary Candi Mundon King. Thank you so much for sharing this information. I just want to extend an appreciation to you and your team for making us aware of these opportunities. This really, it may have been shared before, but I've never heard about it. And once I have this information, that gives me room to share it with others as well. So thank you for that. My question to you, as someone, I loved your story, it's very inspiring. But as someone who's been actively involved with this space, for people who may not be able to join a board or one of the committees, what other ways would be I guess, an opportunity for people to get involved. Maybe that we may not, for those of us not engaged as much with what opportunities are available. What is something you wish people knew more about so that we could actively participate and share and support the great work that you guys are doing?
Okay, I'm glad you added that we're doing, because I was gonna go to my go-to answer. I always think more people should join the Girl Scouts, whether you have daughters or not. I think if you want to look at the future of women and girls in Virginia, the Girl Scouts are always the way to go. But in terms of this administration, I think engaging with us and providing feedback. I manage the governor's constituent services team, and we take the feedback that's provided for us there. So you can provide feedback there. I think most importantly is sharing and uplifting the governor's message. And this is not about politics or what you believe or not, but Governor Spanberger has encountered some of the most awful online, undeserved commentary in less than 60 days. AI generated images and depictions of her. And we need more people uplifting her real work versus the false narrative that's being generated. So I think, more than anything, we need people to sort of call out the false narratives when they see them, and also uplift the work that she is doing. But other than joining the Girl Scouts, I think that there are a number of ways to be involved with secretariats, as you see events and activities or things happening in your area, that you can reach out to our constituent services team and say, hey, this is happening, with someone in the administration like to participate.
Thank you very much.
Well, I just want to thank you again, Madam Secretary, for being here today with us, sharing your story, being part of making history and blazing a trail forward. You have given us so much to reflect on and so many very clear actions to take. I want to invite everybody to look at these boards and commissions at the state level, look at the Division of Legislative Services, commissions and committees, go to your city and county councils and look there, get involved with the Girl Scouts or any other local group that is uplifting leadership. And just remember, you are a leader right now, today, in your own life. You have a voice, as the secretary was telling us. And so you are using it just by showing up here today, and we cannot thank you enough. The Virginia Women's Foundation is also a great place to flex and grow your leadership muscles. So we have a number of great programs you can get involved in as we grow across the Commonwealth. Next Tuesday night here in Charlottesville, where I am talking to you all from, we have an in-person Women's History Month program at the library with some amazing speakers of the Community Foundation and the Chamber and from UVA. So join us in person for a reception. It's a free event and a great conversation. Talking about the Girl Scout, phenomenal group. I was a Girl Scout myself, loved it. We also have a girls leadership program that works with middle school girls. We held it in Northern Virginia last year in 2025. It is launching in person in Charlottesville in April. You can still get engaged in that. And we are growing it across the Commonwealth. We have volunteers who are working on developing the girls leadership program in all different corners of the Commonwealth. You can find information about that on our website to sign up and get involved. And for those folks who have not had enough time talking with us today, guess what? You can come back online tonight at 7 p.m. because we have our monthly virtual book club discussion that we organize with the Women's Foundation of Florida. So you can talk with awesome women from Virginia and Florida. The book we're discussing tonight was Lead from the Outside by Stacey Abrams, which hopefully is a household name by now. But this is a great conversation, and you don't have to have read the book because this is a great conversation about leadership, overcoming obstacles, particularly for communities of color. And so you can, again, go to our website, sign up for that. We'll send you the Zoom link. But just to say, there are so many ways to get involved, and we just really appreciate you, Madam Secretary, for your leadership. Take her up on her invitation to email. She dropped the email in there. If you need information about the boards or commissions, she dropped into the chat the information about the legislative level boards and commissions. We're going to take this, post the recording. We're going to send you more information that she shared. But there was just so much rich wisdom in what you shared with us today. So any closing remarks you would like to make, Madam Secretary? We're just so thrilled to have you here and just appreciate you and all you and the administration are doing.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking the time to first invest in yourself and community. You know, in the climate that we live in right now, there are so many people, initiatives, and things that are designed to tear women down. The fact that you're here today promoting unity and sisterhood and working together, it means a lot. And so thank you for first investing in yourself. Secondly, thank you for investing in this administration. This Governor Spanberger has been working diligently from sunup to sundown and beyond to serve all Virginians. And she is really a transformative leader who is going to benefit our Commonwealth in so many ways. So thank you for supporting this administration and its effort. And please stay in touch.
Thank you all again for being here. We're going to end out with a round of applause for our amazing keynote speaker for being here. Take her message and share it. Share this video when we post it. You'll get an email. Share it with your friends and network. Tap somebody else you know on the shoulder and encourage them to apply for a board. And don't forget to apply yourself as well. We are delighted you are all here. Keep celebrating Women's History Month every day, 365 days of the year. Have a fantastic day, and we look forward to seeing you online and in person at so many other Virginia Women's Foundation events. And it was great to meet everybody. Thank you so much, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great session.
Thank you for being here.